Whoa! Hey, everybody! Welcome to Thursday. Welcome to another Carvers and Creators, a weekly demonstration and discussion with pumpkin carvers, sculptors, and multi-talented artists from around the world. First, we ask that you give us a like and a follow on the platform you're watching us on. Let us know in the comments where you're watching, and also if you have any questions for the carvers and our special guest. Let's meet the carvers. Let's do it. First, he's an artist and sculptor from Boston, Massachusetts. He was a judge on season 3 of Outrageous Pumpkins on the Food Network. It's Paul Dever. Welcome.
Hey, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you as well. Next, he's a multimedia sculpture artist from Tucson, Arizona, and a finalist on Halloween Wars 2019 on the Food Network, Matt Harper.
Hola, how are you guys? Welcome.
Maddie.
So glad you're here. Our guest tonight is a legendary movie and television makeup artist and a 3-time Oscar Award winner. Please welcome Ve Neill. Welcome.
Hi, V.
Hi, V.
Hi, guys. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
So glad that you're here. So glad.
It's an honor.
My name is Michael Mondragon. I'll be running the show, moderating comments, and chiming in from time to time.
Handsome devil.
Oh, stop. Oh, stop.
Look at you.
Let's check out our sculpts from last week. The carving subject was hysterical avian, and Paul, unbelievable as always.
It's a bird.
That's really cute. That's so cool.
It's a bird. See, we always we put stuff on the wheel, and then when it lands on it, it's like, oh, that's right. That's a little different. So that was fun.
Yeah, I love it. I love everything about it. And the way you do the feathers by that tool you have, I think it's like the
what did it look like when you started out?
Well, actually, I can actually show you. Well, Paul's going to show you, but let me add this. I'm going to add this to the. So let's take a look at it. So this is time lapse of it, and you can actually see him doing with that tool, Matt.
Yeah, the little lino tool, right?
Giving away all the
amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, the linoleum cutter is the trick. With a
the
lot
one
of
that
that
it kind of pops it up, makes them look like fuzzy or have or feather.
Yeah, you just use
there we go.
size. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's
and then I
very
love
time-consuming.
the beak got cut out of the back and stuck on. That's brilliant.
Amazing.
I love it.
That's so fun.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Really cool.
I did enjoy that one.
No,
I'm glad it's done. It took forever.
Did it?
It looked like it was a labor of love, but it turned out well. So good job.
Yeah, I usually don't listen to music, but I had to put music on doing the feather thing on this because it was just like I had to get a rhythm, so
tedious.
there had to be something playing in different sizes so that it kind of gives the look of the facial feathers and the, as avians do, whenever you do an avian.
Of course.
Now this may be lifting the curtain, but are the feet? Is it standing on the feet, or are those? Yeah. Oh, it is.
I had to add a tail as like a tripod, which was nobody got to see the tail, but I actually spent time working on a tail.
Were the feet weren't part of that gourd, were they originally, or were they a different gourd? They were part of that gourd.
Part of the same. What I did is I cut there's a section off the back. As sort of you kind of map out what you need. So I needed 2 feet and I needed a beak. So I kind of cut enough and then just sort of segmented it very strategically so that I could put it all back together.
I don't know how you guys think of this shit.
I love it.
Cool.
Lots of time, V.
Yes.
Too much.
Well, let's check out Matt.
This
Matt, you went crazy.
Oh, for God's sake. Another amazing.
So this one
that had to be more than one gourd.
That's three separate donor, one and then the 2 donor butternut squash like these guys. But when I first got the big head had this like odd shape that was really super long, and when the wheel went to avian, I'm like, what in the hell am I gonna do? So it just kind of had that pelican look out of the gate. So I was like, okay, I'll start with that. But then I just couldn't have a static head.
The bottom was the the beak thing was the top of the bottom of the with the fat part of the gourd.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like if you look at this one, this is kind of like a similar, it's a little different shape, but the seed cavity is at the bottom. So that's the open part where the fish is coming out. And then the top part is where the eyes are. And that's where the little stem is on the top. But anyway.
God, you guys are so clever.
Yes.
That poor little fish there didn't do so well.
The fish was more hysterical than he was, but
well, just awesome sculpt, by the way. Super, and you do this all the time. Like you find the character in the shape, which I think is pretty cool. Like right off the bat, you always find the shape goes with. It's almost like shadow puppets in a way. Like you can figure out what looks good. It's the weight that is cantilevered off the front of that one.
Oh, I know. That was more engineering than I've ever wanted to do. I had to take like a stick or a metal pole, put it through the bottom of it, and then I had to take these other skewers and put it. Anyway, it was as long as you know what, the best part of this is you get a couple of pictures, and then the rest of it behind the scenes can look, like the backside of a stage. No one will even see it. So
right.
Well, I mean, how is that thing standing up? Is it weighted so that it stands up?
I'll show you. So I've got it's just a black board that I have like a bolt through. So I just jammed them onto that.
Like a sculpting board. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. And then so he was stuck onto that. And then the head had another skewer.
So you cheated.
I didn't want to say it.
It's lights and magic, It's just
it's Hollywood, kid.
Okay, Paul, remember that next time. He cheated. You got
yeah, I didn't say it, buddy. I didn't say it.
I know, but the outcome, that's all I care about. The outcome.
Well,
hey, whatever works, guys. Cheat away.
Right. Exactly.
And because of the light and just the fact that it's just one solid color and we're playing with shadows, I looked in real close on it, and you did all the scales too. So it's like you did all that work on the scales.
You can't even really see it, but
yeah, it's tough to see, but I was looking for him and you nailed it. That's a dynamite.
Keep me honest. Keep me honest.
Yes.
No, because I know you're gonna do it. It's like, damn it, he did it again. He got all the little things.
I can't see it either, but I'm sure it's there because you said.
Oh, it was amazing, V. Even though he cheated, I mean, he probably used like a fish and just pressed it up against the squash to get it in there.
Exactly.
It's just being creative. That's all.
That's it.
Being creative.
There we go. Find a way.
That's right.
Well, I work in pixels and vectors, so here is my offering for this week.
Now that's really cheating.
Yeah, exactly. So one of my favorite albums is the early Steve Martin albums. All of them. Comedy Isn't Pretty and Wild and Crazy Guy. But so I definitely. But I wanted to also wanted to shout out Paul here. See who are the eyes in this picture?
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
eyes?
I kind of recognize them.
The eyes are actually from a certain person.
Larry Bird.
Boom. Nailed it.
Larry Bird. Oh my God.
Really? Is that what you did? That's pretty funny.
Yes. So
Mr.
I
Easter
was an avian. I had to do Larry Bird, of course.
That's right.
Well done, sir.
Excellent.
French Lick, Indiana is very proud of you right now.
Yes, exactly.
I love it.
Thank you so much. Well, V, I'd like to introduce you to the fourth member of Carvers and Creators responsible for our carving subject tonight.
Oh, yeah.
It is the hollow wheel, the center spinner, and as always, Paul will tell you more about it right now.
Here we go.
Happy Thursday, kids. All right, V, this is the wheel. This is what we are challenged with every week. So we're going to spin the wheel twice. The first choice is the subject. Second spin, the choice is an attribute or an emotion that we have to try and carve into it.
Yeah.
So our choices tonight are derelict, guest choice, so be ready. Not of this world, yeti, elf, fantasy animal, classic monster, ape, demon, and gargoyle. Our second spin will be hysterical, exhausted, guest choice again, euphoric, robust, agony, furious, astonished, hungry, and disgruntled. What could go wrong?
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
Oh boy!
I hope it doesn't land on guest choice because I'll be stupid, not be.
Well, you can pick one of the ones that are already on there. It's
okay.
easy.
Good. Thank you.
If we're smiling after the wheel's done, we've done something wrong. I should
Yes,
be nervous
exactly.
about this. All right, here we go.
Ooh, it spins really well.
It does. It's a derelict.
Oh, see, it almost got.
derelict.
Oh, so it's
It
a
did almost
derelict.
get it. Oh, look at that. It
Okay,
almost-
all right. Oh. Let's see what kind of derelict we're going to carve tonight.
a derelict that's in agony.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
you know what? That's too realistic.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they always
We need
are
to
in
spin
agony.
again. We got to spin again, guys. That,
Okay,
that ain't,
you know
that
what?
ain't right.
All right.
He says
He
spin
said
it again.
All
Uh,
right.
So we got to
That
do
ain't
it.
right.
Guess is always right.
This is true. $100 says it lands on it again.
Hungry.
Hungry derelict.
Right.
I guess a derelict would always be hungry too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again.
This is
Again.
Oh.
I guess
You have
Here we
when
go.
you have those realistic things, they can't be. This has got to be a fantasy. He can't be hungry, or what was the other one?
I think more than the emotion, it's the character that's causing the problems.
well,
I think the derelict, because if he's disgruntled.
Okay, so he'll be a hungry. Spin it again. We'll get a different character.
Okay, ready?
okay. Something else is hungry. Yeah, character's
Yeah,
different.
something else is hungry.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see. A hungry
A hungry
Yeti.
Oh.
Okay,
Okay, I like that. Okay.
that makes sense.
That'll work.
Because a
Yes.
Yeti, yeah. Well,
Mm, yes.
you better
Yes.
get that tool ready, buddy.
Well, what if the Yeti was a derelict?
Oh well, you never know.
Yeah. Up there in the hills of the Himalayas.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, boy.
Well,
Okay.
That's what the wheel wants. Well, that's what V in the wheel.
Yes.
That's right.
Special
Yeah,
guest,
yeah.
special spins, right? All
There
right.
you go.
Oh,
So
boy,
I'm
which
gonna
squash is
Commit
gonna
it to the chat,
Hungry Yeti.
and
Yeah.
it shall be done. If you're carving or creating with us, we're going to give you 5 minutes to get your tools together, get your carving oil, as it were. Well, let's go around the horn and see what everybody's carving oil is for tonight. V, do you want to start? What are you drinking? We call it carving oil.
Ooh, carving oil. I am having a Mexican beer.
Ooh,
Ooh,
Ooh, nice.
fancy glass.
Okay.
It's a, Modelo.
Oh, my
Ah.
God.
Yeah, okay.
Modelo.
Great choice.
Delightful.
Because I'm
Perfect.
having Mexican food for dinner, so I thought it was appropriate.
Perfect.
It fits well. Fits very well.
Perfect.
Very paired, very well paired.
Matt, what do you got?
Okay. I'm gonna get myself out of this little scenario where I'm all little because I was getting ready to carve and I forgot about our carving oil for a second. Okay. So I got a craft beer. I'm not a big craft beer fan normally, but I found one that was really cool just because I'm a huge fan of the label. And it was just says this is just be nice.
There you go.
American Amber Ale, and it's from Phoenix, some station, Walter Station Brewery in Phoenix.
Yes. Yep.
So I don't know if it's going to be any good, but I got it because of the label. So I'm probably one of those people that are, buy the coolest label and the worst possible beer. But we'll give it a go. What the hell?
But it's an
There you
amber ale. That's right up your alley.
It
It's
can't
not
be
an
bad.
IPA.
Right,
Yes.
it can't be bad. You can't make
can't
that
be bad.
mistake. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it was an IPA, I'd worry, but amber ale, you can't really go wrong with that.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Paul and I are definitely craft beer fans, much the opposite of Matt. So what do you got, Paul?
I steered a little different tonight, though. This is
Cool.
an American hard cider from Storm Along, and it's called Mass Appeal.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
It's
a
a
cool
hard
looking
cider. You know what I mean?
Cider.
Another cute label.
Yeah.
It's
See.
cool, isn't it? Yeah, I like it. I like the matte with the gold foil. Pretty cool.
Very
And it's
cool.
a cider. Matt, I wish I could trade with you right now because I know you'd like a cider. Right? They're delicious. You can't go wrong.
Oh, yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
All right.
What'd you get, Mickey?
So, by the way, Walter Station is actually a very good new brewery in Arizona. So that's so you have
I'll
a
be
good
the judge of
interaction.
that, Mickey. All right. I'll be the
Exactly.
judge.
Isn't
Um,
one of you from Arizona?
Yeah, I
Matt,
live in
Oh.
Tucson.
Matt and I
You
actually
still
grew up
live
in Arizona, Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still there?
I am. I'm in Tucson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So
Yeah.
it's not 27 degrees there.
It's not where like Paul's in like the Arctic tundra. Mickey, you and I are in like the beautiful Southwest where we're living living a little bit warmer than he is. Right
Yes.
Feels like intentional that you rub that in.
now. I don't know. You know.
Well, I'm in LA now, so there's a great LA brewery called Paperback, and they always have these really amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, this was I actually got this gifted by a friend. This was from the World Cup, so it's a football lager at 4.5, which is actually a little bit under it, but it's got all the World Cup teams on there.
Oh, that's
cool.
Yeah, super cool. So,
Well, cheers, B.
cheers to our creations tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Oh my God.
This is going to be a very fun, this is your life, V. We really wanted to be like that. And so we wanted to start out in your early days. Like, how did you get started? Did you traditionally go to art school? Did you just start doing it? How did it all work out at the beginning?
I took art in school, but no, I never went to an art school. I actually just started doing it. I knew that I always wanted to do it when I was a little girl, but I was always told I couldn't do it because I was a woman, and women don't do that, and yada yada yada. It's only the men, and so I thought, well, crap, I'm never going to get to do this. And then I was working for these rock bands in LA, and one of them was like this kind of space age bands, kind of on the tailcoats of Ziggy Stardust fame and all that. And they wanted to have these crazy hairdos and makeups and stuff, which I did. And they said, well, this is all really good, but we really want big brains and pointed ears. And I said, well, that's what I really want to do. So I'm going to go find out how to do it. So I started going to science fiction conventions, and I met some people, and I met these guys, primarily Steve Neill, who taught me how to do this. And I'm still friends with Steve to this day. And he didn't like putting it on so much. He liked making stuff, and I hated making it. I just wanted to put it on. So he and I were kind of a perfect team, and that's how we started. I just started doing that, did these little low budget films, and then pretty soon I got in the union, and my first big union picture was Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Wow. That's a big
God, where did you even find these old posters?
I love this is my inspiration for me. I love key art. I love key art, and in fact, you worked on this, the Kingdom of the Spiders. William Shatner. I saw you had a picture with him as well. But this is one. The fact you worked on this, I saw this as an 8-year-old at a drive-in in Phoenix. It was before there was another movie called Homps, but this was the first movie that I literally have probably recollection of, and I couldn't believe that you worked on this.
I think the highlight of this whole movie was the fact that I got to work with Roddy McDowall. I thought that was just the coolest thing ever.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Ken Milford had just done something, I can't remember what it was, but it was kind of a bigger movie, and then he went on to star in this. And the funny thing about this, the guy who directed this film, the movie before this was The Key Grip. And another Charlie Brown movie. That's how quickly they moved up back then. And I'm in there painting him, getting him ready, and I'm starting to go down his neck, and I'm getting his hands in it. He says, "No, you're done." I said, "No, I just got to do his hands, and the rest." And he goes, "No, you're done." And I said, "But he's not." And I said, "What are you telling me? He only turns green from the necklace up." And he goes, "Yeah." So he only turns green from the necklace up, and his hands aren't done. Nothing else is done. Just his face.
Crazy.
awesome.
Amazing.
I thought, oh well. Oh yeah, that was my first union picture right there. That was.
Can I ask you a question about the union part? Because I recall like another interview you did, and you were talking about kind of getting that phone call to be in the union. Was that kind of a catalyst for you? Paul and Mickey and I behind the scenes were asking all the questions about what made you get that launch into this kind of thing. Was it the union? Did that help you?
Well, once you get into the union, you start working on bigger movies, bigger budget movies.
Okay.
I always wanted to work on, the big movies. Obviously, everybody does. And I just happened to be there in a period where they were forced to open up the unions because they didn't have enough people in them. So if you had 30 days on a picture that went Signature, within such and such time, then you automatically got in the union. And I just happened to have done a Western during that time with Christopher Walken and Margot Kidder.
Oh, wow.
And all the days were right in there when I needed to have the days. So I got in, and yeah, it was
Perfect.
like fine.
Wow.
That was good. And I got in like that. And they, back then, all of us that got in during that period, I think they let 50 people, no, maybe 50 hair and makeup. I don't remember exactly how many it was. Might not have been that many, 35 maybe. Seemed like a lot at the time. But they called us 30-day wonders because none of us had to take the test. And even back then, the test to get in as a makeup artist was antiquated. They were still having people do hobos and clowns and shit like that. I mean, and nobody does clowns, really, unless you're,
Red Skeleton or something, maybe.
unless it's a specific, thing where you've got a clown creature in it or something like that. It's not something that we do all the time. It's like, why would anybody really need to know how to do a clown makeup?
Right.
But too, I've done 3 movies that have clowns in them. So but they were all different. They were different kind of clowns. But it was just, I just lucked out and got in during that period. And it was just a trip.
Now, how long was that first shoot for Star Trek? I mean, that's
it was long. It was like 6 months. It was 6 months.
Wow.
And I remember we had almost every stage on the Paramount lot, except for maybe 1 or 2 stages that they did running TV shows on.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to shut down for like a month or something like that, or 6 weeks while they were building the actual V'ger set. And possibly, I don't know if it was the set for the Klingons as well. I don't know, but I remember Fred Phillips, who was kind of my mentor, who I had met in one of those Star Trek conventions. That's why, I was on that movie to begin with.
Wow.
He let me basically design all the Klingons, as far as the coloration and their hair and everything. So I did the test makeup on all 13 of those Klingons myself.
Oh my God.
I laid all the hair on the heads. I dressed all the hair pieces. I put them all together, did all the makeups, and over 2 days we sent them all to the set, and they all got, or 3 days, they all got, whatever. And then, anyway, on the day when we shot those Klingons, a little story, the day we shot those Klingons, we had a lot of other makeup artists there that day because I obviously couldn't do them all myself. So I did Mark Leonard, who was the head Klingon, who actually played Spock's father in the TV show. And the lead, the other second lead Klingon, who actually was a friend of mine for many years, a stuntman, and his name has escaped me now, which is unfortunate because he's such a lovely man. But anyway, so I did those 2 guys, and one by one, every one of these Klingons came to me and said, "V, you have to fix me. They messed it up." And I said, "What do you mean?" Well, I had set it so that all the hair pieces were already dressed. All they had to do was stick them on and blend them into the hair on the head. And every one of those old makeup guys, because, God forbid they should have a woman telling them what to do. They brushed everything out and stuck them on them and put glue in them and bunged them all up. And I said to the guys, I can't touch any of you guys. I can't do that. I said, don't worry about it. You're going to be in the background and it's going to be really smoky and they won't see you. You'll be out of focus. They were, but they still.
I'm sure they weren't happy about that.
Mad about it.
So that leads me to a good question too, because you reference all the older men makeup artists. Back then, there weren't a lot of women in the industry in general, right? It was a boys' club, right?
I was one of the first, I would say, probably 5 women in the 70s that got let into the union as a makeup artist. There was like maybe 2 or 3 other ones with me, and one of them was my assistant on the same movie I got in, and she was the wardrobe girl too. So it was just, they just said, pick which one you want to go in. And she goes, well, I don't want to carry stinky clothes, so I'll be makeup. I mean, she wasn't really, makeup artist. She was my assistant. She just kind of helped me do stuff. But so there was, everybody kind of had to learn their way through. I mean, because of the fact that I started off doing effects makeup, I already knew how to do a lot of stuff that a lot of the makeup guys didn't do. Because it was just, there was probably, I could count on one hand the amount of men that even did makeup effects back then,
Wow.
And So I was kind of an anomaly, number one. So they would sometimes, these guys would hire me to come on the sets, and I remember I went to work on Dynasty.
Really?
I was day checking on Dynasty, and the head of the department said, "Here, I take this box of pencils and this bag of sponges and go in the back and cut the sponges and sharpen the pencils." And he thought she's going to flunk for sure, because back then we used these ebony pencils to do eyebrows with. And Fred had already taught me how to cut those pencils up, because you did it with a single edge razor blade. It was, really low tech,
Yeah.
So I went back, and I was really good at it because I had a lot of patience. So I went back, and about an hour later, I came back with all the sponges and the pencils and everything. He said, "Are you already done?" I said, "Yes, sir, I'm done." He goes, "Oh yeah, let me see him." And he went, "Wow." He said, "Where'd you learn how to do that?" I said, "Fred Phillips taught me." He goes, "Oh, okay." So they would, "Oh yeah, the A-Team. Oh my God."
Oh,
that was fun. That show was really fun to work on.
I think Paul, Mickey, and I can all say without a doubt that us growing up, that was the show. Like we were B.A. Baracus. We had to, you can't miss a single. I think it was on Saturdays, if I recall, but it was like the thing. It was A-Team, and I think Dukes of Hazzard right around there or something. But my God, that was like the most important
and the helicopter show. With James Michael Vincent,
Hawk?
Airwolf.
Yeah.
Because we shared all the stuntmen between all those shows, between Airwolf and A-Team. Our stunt guys would go back and forth between those shows. We were always fighting because they weren't available or whatever, So that was very popular back then. But the cool thing about, sorry?
No, I was just going to mention, because looking at George Papard, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. I know that guy was before A-Team. He was like a legit Hollywood.
Oh no, he was a movie star. He was a dude. He was a bona fide Hollywood movie star.
Yeah, because he'd been in all kinds of big war movies.
Did you ever hear the movie called Breakfast at Tiffany's?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Okay,
that one.
Okay, so. No, and George was the consummate professional. And, up until, even after the show was up until the year that he passed away, I got a turkey from him every Christmas, a smoked turkey. Smoked turkeys.
Wow.
And I looked forward to that every year. And I'll never forget when he passed, because I was on Mrs. Doubtfire, and his wife called me and told me, and I was kind of heartbroken, sad. Because he was a nice guy. I liked him a lot. And if you ever had a problem, we go to Papa George. He'll take care of it.
So on a show like this, there you go. Right onto now. How do you fall into this one? Like when this movie comes up, this became like an instant classic from the time it was released.
It really did.
There wasn't a movie like this.
I did this movie because I had worked on a movie called Incredible Shrinking Woman with Joel Schumacher.
Yeah.
And Joel and I became fast friends. And Joel asked me to come do this movie. And he said, "We're going to have Steve Johnson do the makeup." And I said, no, please don't have Steve Johnson. I love Steve Johnson. He's a genius. But I said, this is not a Steve Johnson movie. He'll wind up making them look like Fright Night. They'll all be like monsters. I said, these guys have got to be like beautiful, dark angels. Everybody's going to want to have to, when they leave the movie theater, I want the women, I want the men to be with, I want everybody to want to be with these guys. So they have to be sexy, and they have to be scary, and they have to be pretty. So that's kind of where we went. And I said, I think you should have Greg Cannon do it. So we did a test. Greg did a test, and Steve did a test. And sure enough, Steve's came out like a monster, and Greg's came out the way I told him to do it. And that's what we got.
Wow.
Kind of. It's a little modified from the original one, because the original one it was a little bit stronger than this. And we put it on Brooke McCarter, the test makeup, which I think I have pictures of that too. I don't know if you have them, but I have them somewhere. But it was just, he had more forehead, which means he had to wear a wig. And we thought, no, we don't want him to wear wigs.
Yeah.
So we modified it so nobody had to wear a wig and all that.
But they all had pretty long hair, if I remember right. They were all with the exception of Kiefer. I think he had that shorter.
Yeah, Kiefer did. He wound up cutting his hair. It's long in that picture there, but we cut his hair off in the back. He didn't have hair in the back.
Oh.
But all the guys, like Billy Worth, kind of had long hair, but we went and everybody had extensions put in. And this is back before anybody was wearing extensions, except for like rock stars and some of the other black singers had them, but no white people knew about that shit. I mean, we didn't know you could do that. So I said, we got to go to his and hers hair, and the guys have to have extensions put in. And he went, okay. And we took them. And that's back when they used to put a braid in the back of your hair and they sewed them. They sewed the weft onto your hair.
Oh my gosh.
It was really tight and uncomfortable. And we felt so bad for the boys that I said, okay, we'll get them too. So I kind of had a long shag. So I got a mullet, and our hairdresser got a mullet, and we both did it so that we could suffer along with the boys with the extensions in our hair.
How good of you! Well, yeah,
it was fun.
Oh my gosh!
Now that look of that vampire has become the staple for pretty much all vampires, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It seems like it carried over into so many other.
Right.
When you think of like Twilight too, I mean Twilight. The reason that there was handsome vampires in Twilight, I think, is Ve Neill. That's how I look at it, because there's no. They would have been gruesome going. I mean, they're all like, everyone wanted to be a vampire when those movies were coming out because of this, I think.
I'd say it's because of teenage girls. They'll buy anything.
Yeah.
This is a little fact that you guys might not know. See Kiefer's fingernails?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those aren't, let's call them, they are not press-on nails. I had my manicurist come and put acrylic nails on the guys.
Oh my gosh.
So that they had them all the time, because they had to be sturdy enough that they weren't going to knock them off. They were riding motorcycles, fighting, they were doing stuff, and I didn't want them to have to think about it. They were just on, and all I had to do was make sure that they didn't poke themselves when they were zipping it up,
Oh my God. You have to wear mittens.
Or something. Just be really, really careful.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's honestly one of my favorite movies. It's fantastic.
That was a fun movie to work on. It really was.
It's easy to be a sexy vampire with the cast that they had too. Like these are
they weren't
people that were in the movie.
Yeah, they did have a really good cast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't seen Kiefer for a while, but I do the convention circuit, so I get to see Jason and I see Billy all the time. So that's really fun. I get to hang with them at some of the conventions. So that's pretty cool. And even Corey Feldman shows up once in a while, but he's much too important to talk to me.
He is one of the Frog Brothers. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, really.
I mean, like
little known film here, I guess, huh?
Yeah. I gotta understand the progression, because I know you got a chance through, like, I think I love the fact that you one connection begets another connection and another. And
absolutely.
I have another question beyond that that I'll ask you later. But when it comes to like the progression, and you do the great work you did on Lost Boys, and does that springboard you into a conversation with Tim Burton and those guys, or how did this become?
This came about because Bo Welch was the production designer on Lost Boys. And he, at the end of the film, he said, V, he says, I just got a script for this next movie that I'm doing. It's perfect for you. You got to come do this movie with me. You got to come and do it. And I said, well, okay. Well, I said, what is it? And he goes, it's some wacky thing called Beetlejuice. And he said, I don't really know a whole lot about it yet, except for it's a really young director that hasn't really done a lot. His name is, Tim Burton, and blah, blah, blah. And he did, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And I said, oh, cool. And I said, yeah, I should have done that movie, because I've been friends with Paul Rubin for 40 years. But anyway, it didn't happen because Paul didn't know he could call me directly. So anyway, I started saying, okay, well, as soon as it gets closer and who's on the production team, I said, find out who's in the production office and I'll see if I can call somebody. So it turns out that the production manager on Beetlejuice just happened to be the first AD on this movie called 9 to 5 that I had done.
Oh,
with
wow.
Lily Tomlin and Jane
Little
Fonda
movie with and
Dolly
Dolly.
Parton.
Yeah.
So I called up Richard Hashimoto and I said, Richard, I want to come and meet Tim because I want to do this movie. I said, can you get me a meeting with him? It's too early, V. Call back in a couple of weeks. Too early. I called back every bloody week until he finally said, okay, already. Because the squeaky wheel gets it,
Right. A little
So
bit
he said,
persistent.
okay, I'll get a meeting with Tim. And so I went in to meet Tim and we hit it off and we were talking about, all the different stuff. And I'd read the script and he said, I want the people in the afterlife to be kind of like pale pastel colors. And I said, you mean like Necco wafers? And he goes, yeah, just like
Oh, yeah.
Necco wafers. So our first tests were like that, but we realized then that the lighting was going to be so strong that Necco wafers was not going to cut it. They had to be a lot more vivid than that. But I still wanted to make the Beetlejuice character kind of in that realm as well. But I wanted to do him pale yellow, but he looked kind of too weird. So he actually it looks white because of, the lighting, but he is probably the palest yellow color you can be, like an egg yellow. Like if you diluted your squash there like 100 million times to the very palest yellow it could be, that's what color his makeup was.
Okay.
And then everything else was, like lime green and dark green. And his hair was the same way. We washed and dyed that wig so many times. It started off as a platinum blonde wig, and it wound up being this dirty kind of clay green and yellow colored nasty thing. It's like really hard for people to ever replicate that wig because we had overdyed it so many times. It's like an odd, weird color,
Hey, and V, I look at the green, the moss. It's iconic, right? Everyone that does these characters and cosplay and everything that just has it. What was this green around his face that makes it look so like he's moldy or kind of stopped?
Well, the whole idea behind this was we wanted him to look like he had crawled out from under a rock, which he kind of had. He crawled out of the grave. So we wanted him to look like he had moss growing all over him. And the only thing that I could think of that would work that way, because I needed it real powdery and I needed it chunky and stuff. So I sent a PA to the hobby store and I told him to get me that crushed foam like they use on the little dioramas that they make.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It's hobby foam, that you buy in bags.
Yeah.
It was like 2 or 3 different colors and textures. And then we even put, the big chunky moss in his hair a couple of times too. But that's what it was.
Wow. All right. So I always pictured it like some organic thing, like actually stuck to it.
No.
That makes total sense. Okay.
No, because we had, and you got to remember, we had to replicate this, so it was really kind of difficult to be absolutely spot on every time.
You're right.
So, I mean, we did a pretty good job. Because it was all hand painted on, I could pretty much match it as pretty good every time. But it was, I'm sure it shifted a little bit here and there, but most of the time it was right on. But and Michael
was responsible for that color palette. That color palette is you, right? That's you brought that to life.
Yeah. And his eyes, everybody thinks his eyes are black. Well, they're not actually. They're brown and purple. It's like a muted purple and a chocolate color
around his eyes. Yeah.
To mush together. And that's why it doesn't look black. I mean, it does because of all the crazy lights they had on him. Sometimes you could see the colors, sometimes you couldn't, and if it was like in this situation where this was probably a flash, it's whited out. But if you look at this other picture over here, you can kind of see that it's purple on that one eye, on that outer eye. You can kind of tell that it's a little bit purple over there.
Right.
But, what's kind of wild to think about the fact is the only thing that people really remember about this movie is Michael Keaton's character. He only worked 2 weeks.
Oh, is that right?
The whole movie. Because you have to remember, he was always by himself, except for a couple of scenes where he was in the model. And then we had like about 3 or 4 days of him shooting with other people. All the rest of the time, he was by himself.
Yeah, that was Gina Davis, and there's so many other characters.
Alec
You're right.
Baldwin, Catherine O'Hara. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Really great cast. Jeffrey Jones.
Winona Ryder, and
Noni, yeah. And that was like one of Winona's first movies. And When she
That's
came
right.
to us, she had blonde hair.
Oh,
So
boy.
we dyed her hair black for that
Yeah.
movie.
Of course.
Wow.
She can't live in that house with blonde hair. One of the things I also noticed, and I got to ask you this question, because when you look at Tim Burton characters, you talked about that circle around the eye. And I know that if you look at other characters he's done, I'm assuming you probably had a hand in other Tim Burton movies where you were also kind of using that kind of dark eye circle, but a subtle variation, because I know he's in a lot of his movies, right?
It's in all the ones I did with him, pretty much.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Even Sweeney Todd, where it wasn't a complete circle, he still had very dark spots around. And even one, I shouldn't say that because Martin Landau's wasn't either. But for the fantasy characters, they all had that, because that's the way Tim drew the pictures. Basically he would draw us a picture, and that was how he wanted the character. So I just kind of followed the drawing. When the first couple of tests we did with Beetlejuice, speaking of derelicts, he looked like a derelict, and he just looked like a filthy, dirty bum is what he looked like. And so the first makeup I did on him, Tim went, "Oh God, no, he's too disgusting. He can't look like that." And I went, "Okay," because I was thinking, well, he doesn't want him to look like the rest of the people, So I did another take. Because no, it's still not right. And I said, "Okay." I said, "How about this? How about if I just go back to the trailer and I do him the way I want to do him?" And he goes, "Okay, do whatever you want to do." So we went back to the trailer, and Michael said, "You know what? I don't want my nose to look like this. Can you give me a broken nose?" So my partner in crime, Steve Laporte, who was on the show with me, I said, "Steve, do you have any like noses or anything?" Because he, built prosthetics and stuff. I said, "Just laying around like a broken nose." He goes, "Nobody." Says, "I have 2 swollen lips." He said we could put one on each side of his nose and it'll look like it's broken. I said, "Okay."
No way.
He just ran a whole bunch of these swollen lips that he had, and we would put one on each side of Michael's nose, and it gave him a broken nose, a little bump down here and a bump up there. Just made his nose have a little tweak in it. So, and then he made Michael's teeth for him, because we had no budget. We made the bald caps every day that we put on him.
Oh my gosh.
The only thing that we had in the budget for him was a wig, and we barely had that. So this was a little low budget movie. I mean, we were like the stepchildren. They had us shooting way over the hill over in Culver City at the old Culver City studios. And this is before it was revamped. So it was like a little shithole back then. The production trailers were like a beaten up old construction trailer that had like corkboard walls and crappy floors, dingy little rooms, and it was like, really, it was pitiful. So we were like the redheaded stepchildren on that lot. So we were over there shooting and yeah.
Probably the last low budget, the last low budget movie that Tim Burton ever did, I'm sure.
Yeah. And Tim asked us to come on Batman with him, and we were all set to do it. And then all of a sudden, at the last minute, the studio said, "No, we're going to go shoot it in England." Well, at that point, we couldn't go because the English won't let us go over there and work because of, God forbid, we should go take a job away from anybody over there. They can come over here and take all of our jobs, of course, but they don't allow that. So we couldn't do that. So I didn't actually get to work with Tim again until we did Batman Returns.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think
that's where you did. Of course. There's this little movie.
Yeah, there was that little movie. Yeah, which was really fun. We shot that, in the lovely, cool state of Florida in the middle of summer.
In the middle of summer. Oh my gosh. Well, I know all the homes.
Actually, it wouldn't matter. It could be winter and it'd be 100 million degrees there with 100% humidity, so it didn't really matter.
Oh my God, of course.
But yeah, Johnny had a cool suit on whenever we could get it on him, and then the rest of the time we would have a air conditioner standing by that he could just hook himself into, like just put it up his shirt or something, because it was blazing hot and his suit was plastic, and he was thankful every time he got to wear the white shirt, because this black thing was a misery for him. It was so hot.
Yeah.
But it looks so breathable.
He was a trooper. And what was so cool is Johnny was still on 21 Jump Street when he still was under contract to 21 Jump Street when we started this film.
Oh, no way.
In the middle of the film, he finally got out of 21 Jump Street, and he was Yeah. Got out of his
Excited?
contract. So
Wow.
that was pretty cool for him.
Also,
That's the lovely Matthew Mungle in this picture with me, who is now also retired like myself, and he lives in Austin, Texas. But he still has his business. He still makes all kinds of cool stuff, and he's
Incredible.
He's like the rest of us who aren't really. We're just retired from getting up at 3:00 in the morning to go to work. We do.
so in the picture on the left there, we see you applying the makeup. Did he do the application, like the cut marks or are you kind of both just tackling that as needed?
We both did it. He did one side of the face and I did the other, so we could hurry up and get him out, because I also had to do all the other principals in the movie.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're right.
There was a lot of people in that movie. You know, it was the only person I didn't do was Diane, but I had to do Winona. I had to do Kathy Bates, Baker, and a couple of the other gals. And so I have, and everybody had some kind of wacky looking makeup on. So
always, yeah, and hairdos.
And the hairdos, which was Yolanda Tusing, amazing hairstylist who did lots of movies with me, and she also did Beetlejuice with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she did Mrs. Doubtfire with me. So Yolanda and I had a long history. But
fantastic. That is fantastic. I think. Well, yeah. Okay. So great segue, Mickey, because I do have a question about this. I know you spent the time on this film in this epic makeup that is completely iconic and beautiful. When it comes to like other films, I know you worked on Hoffa, I think, that was also directed by Danny DeVito.
Yes, it was. So, right after this.
It was so again, back to the network, right? So you do great work for someone, then they want you. Is that ever a curse, I guess, in your career where you say you did great things, and now all of a sudden, like, you got to be mine from, I got to pull you to the next thing, or was it always just kind of like, yeah, I'm interested in their style, and I want to be part of that project?
I don't think it's a curse being asked to be repeatedly be on somebody's team. I mean, okay. As a matter of fact, well, when I was doing Batman and Batman Returns, I left the movie like 2 weeks early because Danny went to the producers and begged them to let me go so that I could go do Hoffa with him, because Hoffa's requirements were pretty staunch. We had 6 characters that all had to age progressively through the film, including Jack Nicholson, who also wore a prosthetic nose. So we had to age all these characters all the way through, from their early 30s to their 60s. And the only way you could really do that with these guys who are already old and you can't put lifts on them or anything is you just have to be really clever on figuring out how to do it. I actually put tape lifts underneath Jack Nicholson's hair pieces to pull his face up when he was younger.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And I didn't do the same with Danny because Danny didn't need it so much, but Jack kind of did. So there was just a lot of, cool tricks that we had to do on that film. And, the DP did not help with the lighting at all. So that was always a bummer. And that's just when those big hooded lights came into play, those big giant white balls that they were like a circle. They weren't even balls then. They those nice soft balls. They were just like tubes with lights shooting right on top of these guys. I said, dude, you're killing me. You're giving them big old eye bags I can't get rid of with makeup,
It's staggering because I think this is what, 92, 93, like along. I mean, so talk about a pioneer and having to kind of, roll with it. My question is, you did Hoffa and I think Blow with Johnny Depp, and in both movies you had to do lots of age progressions.
Yeah, age progression with Johnny too.
How do you like that? Do you enjoy doing those age progressions, or do you like doing characters more?
It's probably one of my more favorite things to do, actually, because it has to be real, and I like being able to do that. I mean, with Danny, I did weird, like cool stuff, like on Hoffa. He had like a little teeny mole on his eye that was just like a flat little freckle when he was young. And as he got older, I made it get bigger and bigger till when he was really old, he had like a full on giant, not giant, but a really good sized mole. I just had this little foam latex mole that I stuck on his face every day. But just simple, really, unique things like that, just to, age somebody. And Yolanda was on that film with me as well. And she did all kinds of really cool things, like little eyelash extensions that we put inside his hairline to give him gray hair, like not painted in, but just like real gray hair. Because a lot of times, especially back then, we didn't have the cool products we have now. But so if you painted in gray hair on dark hair, it always looked kind of crappy and, chunky and stuff. So she made these little eyelash extensions that we glued right inside of his hairline to give him gray hair. I mean, there's just all these really clever little things to age, the character. And what people don't understand is it's not so much their faces that age that really shows the aging. It is, of course, but you also have to, it can be done so much better with hair. So like I'm teaching these age classes right now, and I'm always referencing Hoffa because that's exactly what we do in the class. I say, okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to get a model that's like maybe in their 40s. I want you to try to make them look as young as possible. And then I want you to make them look as old as possible. And I have wigs for them, and I have facial hair, and we have all different kinds of things. Like if somebody has a mustache, you change the color of the mustache. You remove a mustache. You have a beard. Like if a guy comes with a full beard, we'll figure it out. We'll do the stuff where we want to use the beard first, and then we'll take him apart, and little by little we'll trim something, we'll take it off. So hair is a really good way of aging somebody or euthanizing somebody, not in the killing way.
That's amazing. Yeah, well, you mentioned that you retired, but in actuality you started your own makeup academy. Really?
I did. I'm trying to anyway.
You make your own hours. Yeah, Legends Makeup Academy.
Legends Makeup Academy. That's right.
And you teach there along with Lee and Lee was saying everybody there is an award-winning artist that's teaching classes.
Well, when we get going, right now we're beta testing all the classes, which means I'm testing all the classes and I'm teaching them myself because I want to make sure that the classes are up to speed, that has all the latest technology in them, and that they're learning the way that I want them to learn, not some other ways that I'm not real hot on or, don't like that style or whatever. So I'm teaching them my style, basically, Yeah. In fact, right now I'm actually working with Local 798 in New York. They've asked me to come out and teach some of their members. So I'm going out to do some trauma classes in New York, and then I'm going to go to Atlanta and do some prosthetic classes for the members there. Because a lot of the members haven't had a chance to learn how to do so many of these things now that have become so popular. So it just helps them get up to speed. I'll show them how to do some quick techniques that they can learn, that they can have in their kit, because it'll help them get hired more. They'll have just that one more little thing in their, bag of tricks that they can do that makes them more hireable.
I only imagine. So
how does a young kid that wants to get into makeup, how do they get into it? Do you know what I mean? Like what do you take when you go to art school? What gets you on that path?
Well, I think now, because of the fact that we have so many advancements in this industry now. I mean, pretty soon we're going to start printing out makeups, which is frightening to me. But I just was having there was like a big makeup show here not too long ago, and all of the prosthetic makeup artists were talking about how they 3D print all their molds now, and that they scan everybody. They don't even want to take a real life cast anymore. They always do, but they wind up not using it, because when they can do a scan of the actor, when they can get a perfect scan of the actor, it's better, because they don't have the sag from the weight of the alginate or the whatever, the silicone that they're taking the mold with. Because what happens is, it drags down, or or maybe it warps or whatever. So when they can do a digital scan, they get a perfect impression of the actor's face, and it's much more, it's much better to sculpt on. There's no imperfections. So things are moving right along. So I'm not saying to go do that, but anatomy classes, that's always good, because you have to sculpt. You have to do it, even if you wind up doing this. Like they even talked about the fact that you can sculpt inside the computer now with, obviously with
ZBrush
and all that, and that can be printed out. But moreover, it's like they all know how to do this organically, and you have to learn how to do these things organically before you can do them digitally, because you don't know how it works. You don't know how the skin works, how the face works, how prosthetics work on the face. So you have to be able to do this without all the cool tricks But
Yeah.
that being said, learn how to do it organically, but just keep in the back of your mind that you're going to have to learn how to do these new ways too, if this is what you want to do, because that's where it's going. Whether we like it or not, that's where it's going. I mean, they're designing makeups, in those new freaking apps they have out there now. Just like, costume designers and artists are all getting pissed off because people are designing all these cool things and they're not even doing it. And the sad part about it is those things are being designed by all the artwork that's been done before them. They take, the computer's taking all of the input from all these different sources and putting it together and probably stealing bits and pieces from all these other artists and creating new art.
Of course.
Yeah,
So,
the AI. Yeah, Mick, you always make a good point about that, about it being just a tool. Like you can never take away, like you said, the hands-on. You need to know how to do it, and then learn the other tools to help you do it. But I mean, it never hurts to know a little bit of everything, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to go learn how to. You have to learn things like color theory, because that's not going to be done for you.
Right.
Right.
No, it probably is being done for you now, but I don't know.
That's me tomorrow, right?
You have to learn color theory and anatomy and drawing, simple drawing. Any kind of art classes you can take is really great. Portraiture, whatever, sculpting, anything like that is really helpful if you want to get into actually building prosthetics, making them, etc. See, now for me, this is something that I was never interested in. And because of the fact that I started working so early on and there was nobody to put the stuff on, that's all I ever did. And that's why I worked with every one of these big designing houses, is because I would go put all their stuff on. I worked for Rick Baker, I worked for Stan Winston, I worked for the Bermans, I worked for Arian Tight, I worked for Greg Canham, I worked for everybody because I was good at putting it on. That's the only thing I really ever wanted to do. So I learned how to do that really well. Wow. And, so for me now it's like, I'm to the point where it's like, no, I don't want to learn all that stuff. It's too hard.
You don't need to at this point. Yeah, I think you're good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll just, I hire the young boys to do it, and I'd much rather look at them do it and go, fuck, how did you do that?
Speaking of the younger generation, you've been nominated for and won more Academy Awards than any other female makeup artist out there. And it's inspiring just saying that. And I've got 3 daughters, so I can say that I know that each one of them are artists and there's pioneers kind of like you, and then there's people who following and trying to get to where you were. Do you have anybody like in your sites that just really wow you at this time? Are there people like a name you have to drop a name, but folks that are in the industry that you've seen that just kind of blow you away?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of really incredible artists out there now. I mean, I think Mike Marino is right on the tails of Rick Baker. He's absolutely phenomenal. He's in New York, a young makeup artist. He's nominated this year for another one of the, I think it's for the Batman this year, but he was nominated last year for Coming to America. He might have won last year. Did he win that last year?
Oh, wow.
Sorry, I don't know. But he's amazing. There's like really great Justin Raleigh's here. Vincent Van Dyke. Gosh, who else? I
certainly don't want to put you on the spot. I just think
Mark Coulier, who's in Europe, is amazing. Along with another really amazing silicone guy. Hey, Caitlin, who's the silicone guy in England? Do you remember? No. And then there's also Jason Collins, who's here in California. And these guys are all just really amazing. And then, of course, my friend Arian Titan, who's this young, he was a protege of Rick Baker. And when Rick shut his shop down, he said to Arian, go open up your own shop, and so Arian went and did it. And I worked with Arian a few times. He designed a lot of the, he was over at Legacy for a while. And then Rick stole his Legacy when he lost Kazu. So he had Arian with him, and now Arian's doing his own thing. And he did the new Ghostbusters film just recently. He did Wonder with the little boy that had that really,
oh my gosh, I remember that. Yes. That's
and
tremendous.
he's done a lot of really amazing work, and he's phenomenal as well. So there's so many good, artists out there, the guys that have the labs that produce everything. As far as like female makeup artists go, there's quite a lot of them too. My friend Erin Kruger McCash, who's amazing, and her husband Mike McCash, they did all the Ryan Murphy stuff for they must have done 20 shows for Ryan Murphy. They did all the horror stories. They did every one of those Ryan Murphy things up until recently, and she's kind of gone off on her own deal now. But so there are a lot of really amazing artists out there that are coming up now, and you got to know your stuff now. You have to have an education. I mean, you really almost have to go to a makeup school now to learn everything, because you can learn stuff on YouTube, but until you actually get in a room and you do it and have somebody in the room with you that really knows what they're doing, you're not going to have it down, unless you're some kind of genius or something. I don't know, but I think
that's how it ties
in a room with a professional that knows what they're doing, so that you can really, get the hang of it,
Absolutely.
So now I notice on a lot of your films, you work multiple times with, Johnny Depp and all these great actors on multiple films. Do they just request you right off the bat? Like, are you part of the reason they take the role? Like, if you're involved?
Well, sometimes, like, I did quite a few pictures with Johnny, but he used to only have me come in on the ones where he needed special makeup most of the time. And then after I did Pirates with him, my friend Joel Harlow took over for Johnny, and Joel was a really good fit for Johnny for a while, because Joel was also head of my lab at the time. So Joel could teach him how to sculpt and to paint and stuff. And Johnny's an artist in his own right now too. So he was really a good fit for Johnny for a while. So after I did, it wasn't after Pie, it was after I did Sweeney Todd. So, and then I went on to do the Hunger Games and stuff. So I was off on my own path, so it was like, you move around, a lot. And so.
Amazing.
Or like a director will request you a lot. Like I worked with Joel Schumacher pretty much up until the time where he passed. I did a little movie called Trespass with him, and but that's kind of how it goes, And then towards the end there, I did a few movies with Woody Harrelson, because Woody liked me, so he'd call me and I'd go do little movies with him, because I was trying to slow down and not, take these big, giant, enormous movies where I had to get up in the middle of the night to go to work, because I was getting tired.
Now this film is such a great and underrated movie, in my opinion. It's such a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
This movie was so much fun to do. And Alan Rickman, oh God, what a fantastic guy he was. He was so cool.
Oh, great pick. Yeah. Wow.
I have one of these heads of his. I have a couple of these heads, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we reuse these heads. If you can see, this head here has like some of the goop on top of it still from when the thing exploded and got on him or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's got some goop up there. We replace this nose piece every day, and then and then it would have like a nose and a brow thing that blended it in. So we could use the headpiece, reuse the headpiece. Was made out of urethane, and then we just blended it in with the foam latex prosthetic across there. Of course, now it would all be silicone, but those were the old days.
Yeah, I do love the movies where you make people appear to be someone else, like in this one. I think this is
actually this was Jim's makeup artist who did this on him.
Oh, Cheryl, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, Cheryl did this on him, and I did the Tony Clifton makeup on him with her. That was my deal. I did the Tony Clifton, and my friend Bill Corso was on this with me, and because we also did Paul Giamatti as Tony Clifton. So, yeah. If I was doing Jim's makeup as Tony Clifton, Bill would be doing Paul Giamatti as Tony Clifton, and of course I did Courtney and a lot of the other characters. So that was kind of an interesting film. was actually a very interesting movie to work on because Jim was a total nutball on that movie.
Was he? Was he in? Was he in? Was he Andy? Was he? Was
Yeah,
it
he
a
was
Chandler
Andy.
character?
Every day he was Andy. It was a pain in the ass.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was.
Method actors. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that's got to be a
It
fun one.
was a giant pain in the ass, to say the least. And on this film, I actually only did Christine Baranski, who was an absolute delight. That Christine Baranski played the Grinch's girlfriend. Was it Martha
fun.
Who? She played Martha Who, yeah.
She looked like a Who to begin with.
Yeah, she really did.
She really does. That must have been the easiest makeup you've ever done.
Yeah.
It was funny. I just gotten off of a show and I wasn't doing anything. And Rick called me up and he said, V, can you come work on the Grinch? And I said, oh, dude, I'm tired. I want to take some time off. He goes, I only need you to do one person.
Oh.
And he says, I can't get anybody to make Christine Baranski look pretty. And I went, really? Because she had to have like this high beauty makeup on top of this Who makeup. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And the makeup artists just weren't getting it. He had like 3 or 4 different people try to make her up and she wasn't coming out good.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, well, okay, I'll come and give it a shot. So I came in and did her and she came out gorgeous, and it was like, he went, okay, yep, that's it. So
yeah, that was fantastic.
And here's Blow.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is such a great movie too. I need to go back and watch it again, but this is an outstanding movie. An outstanding movie by itself, let alone the makeups and everything. It's a great movie.
And Paul Rubens was in this movie too. He played he played the pot drug dealer in the beach guy.
Yeah, when he first gets to California, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Oh my gosh. This little one, yeah.
That little
series franchise.
I'm not familiar.
Not familiar. No, Paul. It's just a ride. It's a ride.
You had to ride at Disneyland. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Technically, you don't ride anything until the end.
They were fun movies.
Yeah. So Mickey, just real quick on Sweeney Todd. By the way, I know there was a question about Sweeney Todd up earlier, but when it comes to just to jump back to the Pirates real quick, from a setting perspective, so you've been like all over the darn place, to do some of these movies. Do you have a favorite set location that was just like? I mean, again, you've been really all over the place. Was this? It just seems to me like this would be in a beautiful place. I don't know. Maybe it was just in a lot.
We were in a lot of beautiful places on this, but you have to remember we're also like when we were gone in those beautiful places, we were like on ships all day long.
Oh boy. Okay. Oh yeah.
I got seasick. So for me, it wasn't terrific. I was taking pills and had armbands and all kinds of shit on all the time trying to Okay. But it was hard. The pirate movies were hard to do because if you think about it, we're like in this 100% humidity and we've got all these guys with fake hair on. They've got wigs on. They've got facial hair pieces. They've got makeups on that keep sweating off. We're just hoping they're going to get tan so we don't have to worry about it too much and keep them dirty and to keep them comfortable. And it was crazy, but and tattoos. There was tattoos on guys, and depending on the movie, So there was a lot of. There was one really. I think one of the most impressive locations we were at was, I think, was it on 2 maybe or what? I can't remember. Whatever one had the big wheel on it. We were on a really beautiful island. It was like the Echo Island in the Caribbean, and it was so pretty there. It was just absolutely gorgeous. But that's where we shot all that stuff with the wheel, and also the castle, that stone castle that they were sword fighting at the top of. Oh my God, that was a real location. It was like I kept thinking, oh, please nobody fall. I mean, they were all hooked up to stuff.
Really?
It was like and it was like straight down in a thing. I remember having to walk up that bloody thing with all my equipment on my shoulders. And I thought, I'm going to perish. We're going to be taking me to the hospital when I get to the top because, I was no spring chicken when we were shooting those movies, and it was like, dang. And I got to the top and I said, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself. I made it. I mean, it was like literally straight up. It was like 95 degrees 100% humidity. And we were like pouring. We all looked like drowned rats when we got to the top of the thing. It was just unbelievable.
I'm sure there was AC at the top, though, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the
There's
comforts
your
of home.
AC.
Yeah, right. The fans.
We did have those little fans. We used a lot of batteries.
Oh my! I can only imagine.
Never enough. Oh yeah.
Yes,
These movies were fun too. And Jennifer Lawrence was a kick. And it was just, yeah. And Elizabeth was fantastic as Effie. She was so up for anything that I wanted to do to her. She didn't care. She goes, yeah, do whatever you want. So it was
how
fun.
many different because she had to change looks over and over and over.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably 20 different. I mean, I can't imagine how much work that was.
Well, the first one she had maybe 5 changes.
Okay.
And the first one was not my favorite movie for Effie because our director didn't want me to make her look pretty. He wanted her to look really awful, like she had caked on makeup and just wanted her to look kind of overdone and kind of ugly, wearing all this ugly makeup and stuff. And I thought, well, I don't want to do that. But I did it. That's what he wanted.
Yeah,
so on the second movie, our director was, Francis was just so much more apt to letting us to make everybody look fabulous, like they should have looked. That's what we thought anyway.
Sure.
So I got to do all these really cool looks on Effie, and she had all those amazing costumes, that the costume designer got for her. And oh my God, it was so much fun. And I think she had like 8 looks on that movie or something really crazy. I don't know.
Yeah. And you had to do all those. So I mean,
Yeah,
it's
is
that also a 6-month thing or?
All of Jennifer's makeups too. She had a lot of makeups on too.
I bet. What was the time for that? Because you mentioned 6 months for the Star Wars one, Star Trek one. Was this another like?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were like that too.
Wow.
They were like that too. And those were shot all over the place too. We like the second one we were in Hawaii and in Atlanta, and were we here at all? I can't remember if we were here or not. Probably Hawaii and Atlanta. But the third one we were in Atlanta, Berlin, and Paris.
Oh my God!
Wow,
not a bad job.
No, you have to go somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I loved Berlin. It was really cool. I didn't think I was going to like it. I thought I was going to think. I mean, visually, Paris is stunning, of course. I mean, and that was so much fun to see. We went to a lot of different museums and stuff like that. That was really fun.
Sure.
But the architecture was just amazing in Paris. And then you get to Berlin and it's so stark. I mean, everything's like mid-century modern and pretty much ugly. Mm-hmm. And if there's any old buildings that are like half bombed out still, it's crazy. There was like a church right outside of our hotel that was like half bombed. The whole top of it was missing, and they were actually reconstructing it even as we were there.
Oh
but it was kind of interesting because I like to take those, whenever those cities have like rivers in them, you can get on a boat and take a river ride all around the city. I took the one in Berlin, and you see all these really crazy looking mid-century modern, buildings. And then you'll turn a corner and you're like in Baroque land. It's like, there was like this one whole section that didn't get bombed out. That was just all these ancient buildings. And it's where they had all the museums.
Oh, wow.
That was kind of a trip, but I really loved the people in Berlin, and that clothing was amazing. Their designers were just phenomenal. It was really cool. So
did they use a lot of designers from there, or I guess does when you do those kind of
they're like England?
Yeah, yeah. You have to use them from the area.
You mean the makeup artists?
Well, not the
wardrobe.
Yeah, with wardrobe designers, anything else?
No. We have our main crew all came with us from America, and then when we got over there, we hired locals to help us. We did hire a lot of locals, and we hired them ahead of time so they would set up all the stuff, and they knew what we were doing. And by then that was our third movie, so we were a pretty well-oiled machine, Okay. And third and fourth movie was there, I think. So. We would let them know what we needed to have done and what they needed to set up. And blah 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 blah. So they were pretty well, we were pretty well hooked up by the time we would get there, because they would have all the hair pieces ready and all that kind of stuff, because it was a lot of the capital people,
Mm.
So let me ask you a question here.
fancy people.
I gotta know, what is the most challenging makeup you've ever done? The one that hands down was way tougher than the others.
Well, challenging is a good word, because nothing ever seemed really hard to me, because once you figured it out, you figured it out and you just did it.
Right.
But I think probably the most challenging one was probably Mrs. Doubtfire. And the only reason it was so challenging was because all of those pieces on him had to overlap within like a couple of centimeters, because if they didn't, and he started sweating and I had a hole pop out anywhere around his mouth or whatever, the sweat would just start shooting out.
Oh my God.
Little holes, and then I'd be chasing it all day. So everything had to be overlapped, precisely, and they all wound up landing up around his mouth. And he was very, thankfully he kept contained during that period when he was Mrs. Doubtfire, because he knew what would happen if he blew apart.
Yeah.
But that was in the old days. That was all foam latex too, so that was another thing. But Robin was actually really good in that makeup. He was wonderful. But I did that makeup like either 52 or 54 times, and I think that was the challenge.
Oh my God.
Because I pretty much had to, I couldn't go out partying during the week at all, because I had to be on the next morning, because I had to get that makeup done. I got it down to 2 hours with an assistant.
Wow.
And in fact, I even did it without an assistant, and it was still 2 hours towards the end, because I'd done it so many times. Because you learn how to take little shortcuts and what you can do and what you can't. The gluing down, you could never take a shortcut. But the painting, I figured out ways to do it, because you have to remember, it didn't really have to be ultra realistic, because everybody knew it was a guy in a mask.
It's a mask. Right.
Painted up to look like an old lady, and he looked like he was painted to look like an old lady. So it was looked like an old lady with makeup on. So that worked out well for me. So there was a lot of shortcuts I could take. Instead of using like 6 colors to underpaint the thing, I could do it in 4 or 3 sometimes, depending on what we were doing. So
the endearing part of that mask, and the endearing part of the story behind it, like you said, everyone knows it's a mask, and but the beauty of it is you pull it off that she is the character it looks like a female, kind of a nice woman, like an older woman, versus a dude in a female mask. I don't know if that makes sense, but it certainly
absolutely makes sense, because I'll give you a little hint here. When we first started this thing, Greg Canham designed that Mrs. Doubtfire makeup, and I was up there in San Francisco with Greg, and we were doing the test on Mrs. Doubtfire. And so I said, okay, Greg, we'll put it on together. You paint it. You show me what you want me to do. And he painted it. And I said, Greg, we can't paint that makeup like that. He looks like an old man, a fat old man. I said, that doesn't work, dude. And he goes, well, what do you want? I said, it's a speckle fest. He shouldn't look like it shouldn't look like an old age makeup. It should look like an old lady wearing, old lady makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know. I said, okay. I said, well, then fine. Just, FO, go home and let me deal with it. So we did another test, and I painted him up, and this is the way he came out, like Mrs. Doubtfire, like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, I got to do all those fun little makeups on him that day.
Oh, the side ones were hilarious. Yeah.
And we did those all in one day, too, I think, if I remember correctly.
Barbara.
We just pounded them all out one day. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, and I know everything kind of blends.
Put it on him.
and I'm sure it was probably a lot of fun just even working with Robin. Did you work on him Did you work with him on any other projects at all, or was that the only time?
I did not. But I wasn't actually doing
him. You were doing Julia Roberts, right?
I was doing Julia Roberts, and I was doing 3 of her every day. So I was on green screen. Because remember, she was this big the whole movie, so she was always by herself as well. So
right. Oh my gosh.
I was always by myself with Julia and her 2 doubles, because I had to do 3 of her every day, because she had a walking double and a flying double. because she
Oh, no
couldn't
way.
walk, she couldn't fly. Because she was a little too klutzy, and they thought, well, she can't. They tried to get her to walk like a fairy, but she couldn't. She just kept kind of clunking along, you know. It just said, well, that ain't gonna work. So that ain't gonna fly, as it were.
Yeah, they ain't gonna walk.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna
So
fly.
the only time you really see Julia in the movie is where they're close enough to see her face, if she's sitting or standing or talking.
Oh my
Very
God.
But any other time, if she's walking or flying, it's her double in a prosthetic makeup to look like her
Wow.
that I did every day.
So I gotta pivot another. Sorry, Paul. I can't. I'm jump on top of you because I can't not ask this question about Face Off, because I know we're pivoting, but there's so many friends I have and people that have been on our show and just watch what we do that love Face Off. And I mean, there's a million things I could ask, but one of the things that's just fascinating to me is how I loved watching you critique almost as much as I loved watching the reveal, because it was that behind the scenes, this is what we look for in Hollywood kind of versus just somebody like, sitting at home going, oh, I think the nose is all screwed up, you know. But anyway, did you enjoy when you were a judge on that show? Because it looked like you were having a blast.
I did enjoy that. It was, you know, the fun thing about that show is that you kind of had to remember that, you know, this was like kind of like a blueprint. This is, if they had time, would it have been better? Certainly, it would have been better. But you have to get like the gist of it, the style of it, the design of it. This was a great design. They just didn't have time to execute it properly, whatever. So you kind of had to take all of those things into consideration when you were judging them, you know. Or if it was just pure crap, you had to. It's kind of like I just tell them, you know, guys, I know you can do better than this. This is not you're not up to speed here, you know. And so it's kind of like I always said, you know, you guys. Like we would have what we called monster porn or something like that, creature porn. We called it creature porn.
Yeah.
So when we were rehearsing, they would run the characters out on the stage so they all knew where they were going and wouldn't fall down and stuff. And we would be backstage and we just watch them on a little monitor to see them. And if I saw something I really hated and I didn't want to upset anybody and say, God, that sucks or something, I would always tell the producers or somebody, don't ask me about that makeup because I don't have anything good to say about it.
Oh, okay.
You notice that not all of us talked about every single makeup. So I never really wanted to hurt any of the artists' feelings because it just wasn't worth it. It didn't matter. I mean, if I had something bad to say about it, I would always say something good. But if there was nothing redeeming about a makeup, I didn't want to talk about it because I really felt bad about saying something crappy to him, you know? So that's kind of where I was at. I mean, I loved watching. I loved seeing what they did, and you know, it was fun. It was a fun show to be on. It was a fun show to work at. It was always like it's like I would get there and I think, oh my God, what did they do today? And we never knew what anything was until that night. We never got to see anything. Like at the beginning, they'd have us go in the room and talk to them and stuff. After a while, they didn't let us do that anymore. We had 13 seasons on that show. So by the end, you know, even after probably the first 5 or 6, maybe after the 3rd season, we weren't even doing that anymore because they had Mike come in. You know, they had Mike Westmore come in.
Yep.
So we didn't go in and critique anything anymore at the beginning. We just, you know, we would just see it as it came out, you know.
Right. And Mike would give them the tips and then you guys would be on the stage kind of part. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. And
going from, you know, being a pioneer as a woman in the industry to see all these amazing female artists come through. There's been 5 face-off champions that are female.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to feel kind of partly responsible, not just as the judge, but as an inspiration for female artists in this industry, I would assume.
I do. And a lot of, I really do. And I think it's kind of a cool thing. I try not to get a big head about it, but I think I did inspire a lot of women and I love to see it. And I mean, and anytime I go to a show or anything, you know, all kinds of people will come to me and just say, you know, you were such an inspiration, you know, and you're honest about what you were talking about, because most of the people know me from the show, obviously, because a lot of these people would not ever have any idea who I was if it wasn't for Face Off. You know, they might look you up or something, but they wouldn't know what you look like, you know. But I kind of feel really honored to have been such an inspiration to so many female artists, and they tell me that every time they see me, and I'm very appreciative of it, and I'm really honored to, have inspired so many people.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's amazing, and not just female artists. I mean, you've inspired just artists generally with your work, and like
I'm not even that good, so I don't know what the hell.
Oh. I'm pretty sure your trophy case says different.
You know what? Sometimes you just get lucky, guys.
Hard work pays off. Face Off put a face on some of the amazing artists behind the scenes, which in itself was very cool. Like I wouldn't have known, like, the Andrew Freemans and the Laura Tylers and like all these crazy artists. And then, like you said, you start looking these people up, and then you see things that you never knew that they did, and so and then the judges panel is like royalty, which for those guys,
we had a lot of cool guests on there. We really did. It was fun.
Oh my god, it was amazing. Every week it was just crazy.
Yeah,
that was the best show ever.
The picture Mickey showed with the little guy named Rick Baker sitting there in your panel. I'm sure you guys had a fun time just sitting there chatting about the old days. Like, you were on the stage when in 1993 when I won the Academy Award against you for coming to America. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have been like a fly on the wall hearing you guys
talk to me for 5 years after I won that Oscar for Beetlejuice. True story.
Really?
I mean, he didn't talk to me until we started working again on Ed Wood.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
He was mad at me. And I'm thinking, I wasn't even a member of the Academy. You can't blame me. I didn't do it. Talk to all the people who voted for me.
you didn't have a vote. You just got the votes. That's it.
I didn't. I had nothing to do with it. Like I said, I just got lucky because I thought they were going to win. I never thought the only thing I thought of, maybe they're just getting sick of giving them to Rick because he probably already won 5 by then. You know what I mean? It's like every year he wins it. Maybe they're just getting sick of giving them to him, because he's going to win them every year. What the hell?
Yeah. The guy's got a decent craft. We'll give it that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he did win 8 of them, and he would keep winning them if he kept working, but he doesn't want to work anymore either. So.
Oh my gosh.
But he's another one that stays busy.
Say that again.
He stays busy. That guy's Instagram is like the most active Instagram in the world.
No, he just wants to do all of his own projects now, and I don't blame him.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, you're doing the same thing. I mean,
yeah.
Geez, I wish I could get out there a week early. I mean, do you take squash carvers in your classes to learn how to do that?
You can talk to Lee about that.
Yes. Oh, I love Lee's work.
Well, Paul, show us what you got blocked in there so far.
Well, I'm just blocking, but I do have my squash kind of has like an ape type head. Isn't that weird?
It does.
That's so weird. That's why I grabbed it.
What was our thing again? Oh yeah, Yeti.
What is he called?
And yet,
hungry
Yeti.
I'm keeping this part very generic right now. So this is very static for some reason. I'll get some tilt to. I got to get the anatomy right before I can start shaping the features. But I just wanted to make sure I could do it. Like if I get a nice tilt to the head, he'll be eating something of sort.
Yeah.
Hopefully it looks better than it does now. Yes, it will.
Well, you know where it's going, that's for sure.
It could be a gorilla. It could be any number of things now.
That's right.
Oh, well, V, it's actually going to be a Yeti. I don't know if you know this or not. It's going to be a Yeti.
I know what it's supposed to be. It will go anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But the nice part about a Yeti is it could be anything you want them to be, right? They could be a
squash. It could be a squash gorilla.
Yeah, my lighting's not as good, but so I'm doing the same thing. I'm kind of leaving his mouth ambiguous, but I'm thinking like drool or maybe something sticking out of his mouth because he's hungry. And then I'm leaving all this part for above his brow line for hair because I want him to be fuzzy or hairy or something. But
yes,
we'll see.
There's a couple of really cool little tendrils all around the edges there. Those are really.
Oh yeah, you know what? I've got a ton of them here, so I could just.
Yeah, you could just stick those babies on there, dude.
He'll be hairy.
There you go. And end scene.
And done.
Nice.
So now
Good
you
job.
said that there weren't any pumpkins around. Those look like pumpkins in the background, or is that just a different weird squash?
Mine, yeah, these guys are little. They're called.
Yeah.
I got them at the Sprouts or something.
Oh.
They're like honey. They're called. Oh, they're not very good at putting this in front of a camera. This is like they call it a honey buttered honey squash. Anyway, so it's small. It's like the size of, it's like a softball sized little pumpkin. So I'll get into this, but I didn't want to cheat the system and do a little tiny one tonight on your show. I got to do at least something bigger, more substantial.
Now, do you eat them after you're done with them, or are they just too dirty to work with? Can you wash them up and eat them?
You probably can. I don't think we ever have. But.
I clean my tools.
So when you take it out of the oven, it's like all the little bits all browned and cool looking and stuff. Wouldn't that be fun?
Put a little brown sugar on them, make them age up a little bit.
All your little bits of hair, they'd be all toasty and be really cute.
Put some marshmallows around them, make him look like he's
There you go.
Delicious.
I like it.
Awesome.
Yummy. Brown sugar. Well, look at that. That's the next.
Tell us about your academy, and I'm actually going to put it up here. Legends
Makeup Academy.
Yeah, so I mean, you can do things like this. I actually have my next slide here is actually like kind of the variations of things. Are these the types of things that you teach there, or is
well, these were actually just some paint makeups that we did for NYX Cosmetics one year, and all different artists did them. I did the little girl over here with the big pink. Did I do her? Yeah, I did her. And yeah, there was different artists did each one of these characters. I designed them all, and then they put them all together. So it was kind of fun.
That's cool.
It was for their black light makeup, basically.
Very.
I mean, you're so inspirational. I mean, Patricia, who was in the chat earlier, I know that I'm not sure if she watches us regularly. If she does, she doesn't comment, but she's a makeup artist I know from a while back, and I'm sure if I asked her, you would be a huge inspiration to her and what she does, and you're amazing at what you do. You're your everything that we've been showing of your work is like a who's who. It's like just jogging my memory of my life. I'm just like, and you did it. It's absolutely outstanding. So please go to legendsmakeup.com. I also want to put up this to go to your Instagram, which you're also very.
That's right.
Yes. Yes. So those two places, is that where we can find you? Very active. Yeah. Yep.
As active as I could be. I'm not the most prolific on my sites. I try to keep up with it, but I'm not.
You got people for that.
You got to grow up with it, so it's like not something that I think about doing all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I try.
The kids these days,
Yeah, the kids these days, for crying out loud. That's why I have a kid doing it.
That's right.
I love it.
Good job.
Awesome. Well, thank you, V. This is where you can find us. We're Carvers and Creators. We have amazing artists every single week, and this week is no different. Thank you, V, for joining us. We totally appreciate your time.
Thank you guys. It was fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Matt,
remember stuff I'd forgotten I did, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah, everybody's loving it in the chat. Guys, any last words before we sign off for this week?
Just a huge thank you. Yeah, a huge thank you, V. You're an inspiration to us. You're an inspiration to all the people who chimed in and who watch our show as well. And we just can't thank you enough for gracing us and being a part of our show.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
And we look forward to seeing you in June.
That's right. We'll see you in Monsterpalooza.
Look us up.
We'll see you there.
Okay, guys. Good night.
Definitely. Thank you so much. We'll see you next Thursday with another Carvers and Creators. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.